What's going on, everybody? This is Ox coming at you, telling you, I believe this will be covering day 27 to 40. Today is day 40. This video is from day 38. No, day 39. Just yesterday, I am back from the hospital, getting ready to work on issue 9 some more. And this one is going out to those that are living on excuses, deciding to tell themselves that it's alright to not work on their own projects because life's getting in the way, and to that I see bullshit. I have had such a shakeup these last 2 weeks. When I stopped the video last time, I had just finished inking issue 9. That is completely in the bag, and I am looking forward to getting back into coloring that. The problem is day 27, I had started, day 27, I painted, no, hold on, day 28 and 29, I painted. Day 30, I had laid down some designs to get working, and then I was going to take the last day, the day 29, to plan some things out, make sure I get the final covers painted up, and get back to work on issue 9 once I get it scanned in and everything. It seemed life had some different ulterior motives, I suppose. What happened is, my father was supposed to go in for some bronchoscopy, where they basically put a balloon down your throat and inflate it because his windpipe has been narrowing since his hospital stay back in April. When he was intubated, when they put a tube down your throat so you can breathe, the throat seemed to collapse around that, and it has been slowly collapsing since he's been trying to get better. His breathing's gotten worse and worse, and finally we found the right doctors that knew what they were doing. The problem with that is it took me away from everything I was working on. So we went to a doctor's appointment, and they told us to get to Rochester, which is one of the bigger hospitals here in the U.S., Mayo Clinics. I don't know if anybody on the outside of the U.S. has heard of them, but they're probably one of the bigger hospitals here in the U.S. So we knew he was in good hands. Problem was, we were in the waiting room for 8 hours trying to wait for him to get checked out and all this other stuff. So I was making notes on my phone, working on some designs. Thankfully, I had gotten my work in before we had gone to the doctor's appointment earlier in that day. And then about 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 a.m., we left Rochester, drove all the way home, got home at like 5:30, crashed, woke up, put a bunch of stuff in a bag, including my notebooks and stuff that I'm using for these issues and whatnot, so I could at least do some work, because I refused to let this hospital stay for my father come into conflict of me getting my 100 days in. I had started my 100 days previously before he got put in the hospital. That was kind of a shock to the system, and I completely stopped. Felt sorry for myself, all the other mess, and I refused to do that this time. So with my notebook in hand, I was at the coloring stage of issue 9. I was also at painting covers stage, both of which I couldn't I could have taken to the hospital, but I probably would have made a huge mess and caused huge damage, financial BS, but didn't want to take that avenue. So I decided I was going to move forward and at least lay out or get working on issue 10. So after an hour of writing, working on the last arc, the Respect arc, issue 10 through 13, I kind of have a greater sense of how this whole thing is going to wrap up. I started scripting issue 10. Put an hour of scripting into 10. Worked for the next 3 or 4 days, about 3.5 hours laying out the entirety of issue 10. After that, took a couple days, go back and worked on the dialogue for the whole of issue 10. And I've got to say that issue 10 is going to be taking some major liberties with itself. It's the only issue out of this run that I think I can capitalize on the chaotic mess that is happening right now. With that being said, I am trying a lot of things with this issue. There's a lot of big moments, and those big moments I want to show off with spreads, but I want to keep the issue reasonably tight. The last 2 or 3 issues I've gone about 25, 27 pages, and I really wanted to challenge myself to hold it within 22 pages, which I think I have. And I really wanted to try some disorienting like spreads to play around with the reader a little bit. So that's what I'm working on. After I got all the dialogue done for issue 10, I went to work and for 4 days worked on the bigger spreads of this next issue. The ones that are really going to challenge the reader, almost as if it was a unreliable narrator, but they're not going to be able to make tails or ends of what's kind of it's going to play some illusionary tricks. Hopefully I can pull this off. Like, that's the main goal of issue 10. I think that's the best way I want to kick off the Respect arc. Also, if you remember my first trade Kickstarter, this one will be for issue 10 along with the first 2 trades. You can pick up the second trade if you already have the first trade for sure, but it's probably the best way to get caught up on the entire series as a whole, get people into the whole series, and then kick them off into this last Respect arc with issue 10. I'm super excited about how it's looking. The video you're actually watching me is of me in the hotel, working on one of these bigger spreads. I really like how this turned out. I wish I would have had a few more things, like my Bristol and everything. I probably would have really started working on it, but I think I had just enough time that I wanted to get to where I wanted to in issue 10, and now I'm back home. Going back to the hospital stay. We were in the hospital for a week and a half, 10 days. And now I can get back to work on issue 9. I'm going to put one last bit of work. Today's work is going to be on issue 9, or issue 10, tightening up those last details, making sure I have everything in place. So when I go back to issue 10, I know everywhere I was thinking. So yeah, this hospital stay has been enlightening, to say the least, just because it showed that I have persevered past all this obstacles life has put in my way. I just didn't want to say that I showed up for the challenge, made it 30 days, and just couldn't connect with those last 70 days. I want to put in the work. I want to get as much as I possibly can. Issue 9 picks up tomorrow, and we'll see where we go from there. I'm still sketching daily. The incredible thing is my dad had surgery 3 days ago, and he's making a remarkable recovery. He is should be released from the hospital later today. I'm recording this in the second hotel we've stayed in. That's been a whole rigmarole. It's cost us quite considerable to stay in the hospital or hotels for the last 10 days. It was the same thing in the beginning of April. Just a just a giant mess. If you've ever stayed in a hotel, I mean, staying a week and a half is almost unheard of because it's just so cost prohibitive. But being 2.5 hours away from home, we still wanted to be close in case something did happen. For that first week, it seemed like they were kind of chasing their tails and making sure they had everything pinpointed. So when they actually did the surgery, they knew exactly what they were doing. So they ran all the tests they could think of that they would need. They also they were going to do the bronchoscopy, but decided not to because if they were going to do surgery, they were going to do the main surgery that was going to not be a temporary fix, but a permanent fix. So I'm glad they went with that route rather than opening him up twice. And then we had the hotel problem itself. Near the end, we were running low on funds. Thankfully, some friends and family kicked in and helped us get a few more days in a different hotel. This one's pretty shady, but it's also pretty reasonable for what we were looking for. Thankfully, I've been able to catch some movies here and there. While we were up here, I went back and did some housekeeping and checked the mail and whatnot a few days ago. And while I was home, recorded the last Roomies and Movies with Luke. So definitely check that out. That was a lot of fun. We talked, let's see, Ocean's 8 upgrade. Oh my god, what were the other movies? But yeah, check that out. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to hang out. It's kind of the piece of sanity I needed right before the surgery, so it was a good time, even though the world was spinning around me for sure. So now that I've got issue 10 to basically where I want it to be, it's time to get back to work at number 9. Should take me a week. Probably tomorrow I'll get the entire issue scanned in. I've still got to see. I'd love it if I could scan it in with the pencils behind it and just leave that like it is. But I think I'm probably going to get to the point where I can scan it in and I'll have to erase all the pencils I have in the background. So we'll see if I have to touch up the pages after I erase everything, but hopefully that ink's had 2 weeks or better to sit, so it's set up and won't erase when I try erasing the pencil marks and everything. So here's hoping. Looking to be done coloring issue 9 then, hopefully by day 50. After that, probably another 10 days to make sure I have all of issue 9 put together. Once I get that done, I can get that to my printer where he's waiting with last year's sketchbook and issue 8 to print. They were kind of smaller runs, so I didn't want to push them through separately because that would have ended up costing me another $500 or so bucks. So I hope if you're listening to this and you did donate to that Kickstarter last year, I hope you understand that me taking a little more time will get you even more rewards, and my thanks for being patient with me while all this has gone on and this whole mess has been thrown in my lap pretty much. So also, you should be checking out the couple. There's a lot of hundreds veterans that are doing some really cool stuff. Joshua Kemble and Cory Kerr are doing their 48-hour check-in. That's a lot of fun. Mike Emeritz and Gaz are doing their weekly update, and I think Marshall and Chris are just starting theirs up too. Hopefully everything gets settled here and I can kick mine off, my weekly series with Jan. Hopefully that's coming up, so look forward to that. I also want to thank all my patrons that have been supporting me. now that I'm back here in my house, I can finally get some updated things out to my patrons, and like the last few months sketchbooks at least, along with some other goodies. I'm looking at restructuring my Patreon, so keep an eye out for that. Until next time, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope, since it's a little bit shorter, it's a little bit easier to digest rather than those 30-minute ones that I've been putting up. Yeah, I'll catch you next time. Peace.